If I were to ask everyone in this room to raise their hands if they or someone they know suffers or has ever suffered from heart disease, stroke, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, diabetes, paralysis, or even burns, I think it's reasonable for me to assume that nearly every hand would be up. In August of 2001, former President Bush signed a bill that limited taxpayer money for embryonic stem cell research to a small number of stem cell lines. This small number did not include embryonic stem cells, the most promising branch of stem cell research. If Bush had not signed this bill 8 years ago, and for the past 8 years, scientists and researchers had more access to funds for embryonic stem cell research, there's a chance that if I were to ask the same question I just stated, there could be drastically different results. Sadly, that's not the case. To give you some background on this issue, allow me to explain to you what stem cell research entails. Scientists have found that by using human embryos, they may have the key to curing many degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and heart diseases. Human embryo cells, as they develop, basically decide what cells they'll grow up to be. At the first stages, an embryonic cell has the potential to become anything from a heart cell to a liver cell or even a brain cell. In using human embryos in stem cell research, scientists are able to sort of suggest to the embryo cell what to become. So when a human suffering from Alzheimer's disease, which is a disease that involves the breakdown of brain tissues and therefore the breakdown of connections throughout the brain, if they have the stem cell therapy with embryonic stem cells programmed to become brain tissue, they go through a regenerative process, which at the very least has the potential to stop memory and function loss, if not reverse it. Embryonic stem cells hold so much potential before choosing which cells to become that they can actually become one of over 200 types of cells in the human body. Then, of course, the question arises, why with so much potential for saving and bettering millions of lives in the United States alone, are we not taking the next step in stem cell research? I wish I could say that the answer to that question is a simple black and white answer. But if it were, I'd be debating something else today, so it's not. The reason why is the same reason that interracial marriage was illegal in the United States until 1967, and that gay marriage is only completely legal in 2 states today. The reason is almost purely based on moral perspectives of a fraction of the country. Often the controversy of stem cell research is compared to the controversy of abortion, when in fact the only real resemblance in the controversies is that they're controversies. That's where their resemblance ends. Embryonic stem cell research involves embryos, not fetuses. When looking at a fetus, one can identify parts that are identified with a human, like head, torso, even arms and legs, basically anything a 2-year-old would include in a drawing of a person. However, none of these features can be identified on an embryo that's used for stem cell research. The reason being, it doesn't possess any of these features. Like I said earlier, the embryos used in stem cell research have cells that have not decided what they're going to be. There is no brain in an embryo because no cell has decided to become a brain cell. For the same reason, there is no head, no hands, no heart, no life, and no reason to preserve these cells in their current form indefinitely, when they can instead be used to save the life of a real human being with an actual brain, an actual head, actual hands, actual heart, and with embryonic stem cell research, the potential for an actual life. I say that the embryos will be preserved indefinitely because currently the embryos being used for embryonic stem cell research are received from fertilization clinics. They're the leftover embryos that were not used in the implantation process. After a mother becomes pregnant with in vitro fertilization, she's given a few choices. The clinics can either deep freeze the unused embryos in case the mother experiences a miscarriage, or in the case that the mother decides to have more children later in life. The other option the mother has is to discard the unused embryos, which bypasses the deep freeze fee, by actually throwing away the unused embryos or by donating them to science. There are really a limited amount of options researchers have for obtaining embryos, and this is basically it. Not donated to research of any kind, these embryos not only lose potential for life, but potential for saving life. Most Americans agree with my partner and I in supporting federal funding for embryonic stem cell research. In abcnews.com, a phone poll of over 1,000 people, 50% said that they supported federal funding for embryonic stem cell research, while only 31% opposed it. That's less than a third of this poll, which suggests that less than a third of this country would agree with the fact that we've lost valuable time and resources by not pursuing this research. This survey even gave way for a 1-point mistake margin, and with results this radical, it's pretty representative of this country that more people want to see embryonic stem cell research funded than don't. I'm not in any way trying to suggest that there's no embryonic stem cell research. In the National Health Institute's budget of 2005, it stated that $28.7 billion was spent on medical research that year. Not a dime of that funding was allotted to embryonic stem cell research. This 8-year ban has prevented who knows how many advancements in Western medicine, and lifting this ban can save and improve an incalculable amount of lives. All my partner and I are trying to advocate is the federal funding of embryonic stem cell research within 2 months of the stimulus package passing. All these researchers have to spend are the donations of private donors. Admittedly, it has sufficed, but the research has been lean over the years. And in the current economy, scientists and researchers are going to be hard-pressed to scrape together an amount even equal to the meager sums they've been allocated these past 8 years. So, with all that said, the ban on federal funding of embryonic stem cell research needs to be lifted. So many people are quick to push their morals and ideals on the masses, and they don't stop to realize that the well-being of the masses interferes with these ideas. It's hard to speak up for those without a voice when those who can speak for themselves aren't being heard.